3 sacrifices you must make to be a true dark chosen one. You were never meant to live an ordinary life. From the beginning, something about you felt like it didn't belong, not to your family, not to your school, not even to this era. You didn't know it then, but your soul came encoded with a mission, one that only a rare few would ever be asked to carry. You were not chosen because you were special. You were chosen because you were strong enough to lose everything and still rise, but no one tells you the price. No one warns you that to walk the path of the dark chosen one, you must make sacrifices so deep they unmake who you thought you were. Not once, not twice, but again and again until only truth remains. And this isn't metaphorical, it's visceral, it's brutal, it's sacred. There are 3 sacrifices that must be made, and once you make them, your old life will never return. The first sacrifice is belonging. Yes, belonging. The one thing almost every human being craves. The desire to be seen, accepted, loved by a tribe. But for the dark chosen one, this is the first illusion that must be torn apart. Because belonging requires agreement. It requires masks, and your very vibration threatens the comfort of those who live in illusion. Your presence exposes what they've worked so hard to suppress, so they'll distance themselves. Some will envy you, some will try to control you, others will betray you just to avoid the mirror you hold up. And at first it will hurt deeply, because you'll still be operating from the belief that you're broken, that if you just fix yourself enough, they'll stay. But the truth is, they were never meant to. The dark chosen path begins with isolation, not because the world rejects you, but because your soul demands truth over approval. You must walk alone long enough to recognize your own frequency without outside interference, until your inner voice becomes louder than any external validation. That is the fire where your authority is forged.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lesson.
But here's the paradox. The moment you accept the loneliness, you begin to vibrate differently. You start attracting those who are also carrying secret codes, other chosen ones. But these connections are not born of need. They are forged through resonance. No more fitting in, no more shrinking, only alignment. But that only happens after the sacrifice. So ask yourself right now, what part of you is still pretending just to be loved, and what would happen if you stopped? The second sacrifice is identity. Who you think you are has to die. Not once, but many times. Every version of you that was created to survive, to impress, to feel worthy must be dismantled. This process is excruciating because it means letting go of stories you've clung to your whole life. Stories about who you are, what you deserve, what you're capable of. You'll find that most of what you thought was you was actually a survival response, a persona shaped by trauma, culture, conditioning. But the path of the dark chosen doesn't allow illusions to remain. It drags them into the light of consciousness and demands they be burned. You'll go through spiritual ego deaths, painful collapses where nothing feels real. Your career may dissolve, relationships may implode, dreams you once had will feel foreign, and in that void you'll feel naked, empty. But it's in that void that your real essence will rise. This is where you meet your power. Not the performative power of titles and image, but the raw, magnetic, soul-anchored power that comes from standing in nothingness and saying, even this will not break me. That kind of power can only be accessed through the death of false identity, and only the brave get there. Many stop at the edge, but if you keep going, you'll find that what's left is not a version of you, it's you. Unfiltered, unbothered, unmovable. And from there you begin to create, not from ego, but from essence. The third sacrifice is comfort, and this may be the hardest one, because comfort isn't just luxury or safety, it's predictability. It's the known. And the path of the dark chosen one demands that you live at the edge of transformation, constantly evolving, constantly risking the old self to make space for the truth. Comfort dulls the senses. It breeds complacency, but your soul was designed for intensity, the chaos, for the wild alchemy of shadow and light. So life will strip away your comforts, sometimes violently. The people, routines, roles, and even your own body might rebel, forcing you to adapt. Not because you're cursed, but because stagnation is death to a chosen one. Every time you get comfortable, something will shake you. Why? Because comfort isn't your destiny, growth is. And real growth only happens when you're uncomfortable enough to question everything, so the universe will keep sharpening you, testing you, not out of cruelty, but because it knows what you carry, and it refuses to let you forget. So the question isn't, why is this happening to me? The real question is, what is this awakening in me that comfort tried to keep asleep? This is the brutal beauty of the dark chosen path. You don't become who you are by adding, you become by subtracting, layer by layer, comfort by comfort, until all that remains is the pure, concentrated vibration of your soul, vibrating loud enough to alter timeline. Now ask yourself this: what are you still unwilling to lose that might be the very thing standing in the way of your ascension? The pain of power. Why losing everything is the initiation ritual of the dark chosen ones. Most people think awakening feels like light pouring in, but for the dark chosen one, it feels like everything you've ever leaned on crumbling at once. The pain is not symbolic, it's physical, emotional, energetic. You don't just feel lost, you feel stripped, hollow. You don't recognize your reflection anymore. And that is exactly where the transformation begins. Because to carry the kind of power you were born with, you must become a vessel strong enough to hold it. That means the old structure, your attachments, your expectations, your identity, must collapse, not gently, violently, thoroughly, until you are left standing in a reality that looks like ruins, wondering if anything will ever make sense again. That's not failure, that's initiation. To become a true dark chosen one, loss is not a tragedy. It's a sacred requirement. You must lose what you think matters to discover what truly does. The pain isn't punishment, it's purification. It refines your frequency. It breaks the chains of mediocrity and illusion that keep ordinary souls asleep. But you were never meant to stay asleep. You were marked to awaken through the fire. So everything is taken, not because you're weak, but because the universe is forcing you to remember your true strength. At some point, you will be misunderstood by everyone around you. People you love will walk away, not because they are cruel, but because they cannot breathe the air of your elevation. Your vibration begins to rise, and it triggers their subconscious need to stay small. You start speaking truth, and it disturbs the lies they've made peace with. You stop apologizing for your intensity and they feel threatened. Not because you're doing something wrong, but because you are becoming undeniable. And this is where the deepest pain enters, the pain of being alone, of being unseen by those you once thought were your forever people. But let me tell you something almost no one will. This pain is not random. It's sacred. Because the dark chosen one is not meant to be validated by the masses. You are meant to carry codes that shock the collective awake. Your presence is the earthquake before the rebuilding. Your voice is the thunder that cracks illusions. And those who haven't done the inner work will try to silence you. Not with force, but with shame, with rejection, with indifference. That's the test. Not just to endure the pain, but to rise anyway. To speak even when your throat shakes. To stand tall even when the ground is still smoking beneath your feet. Every time you lose something, whether it's a person, a title, a dream, or a version of yourself, ask this question: what power is being made available to me now that this is gone? Because there is always an upgrade hidden in the loss. But you can't see it until you stop trying to get back what was never meant to stay. You are not being abandoned, you are being emptied. And that emptiness is holy. That emptiness becomes the container for your true gift, divine authority. Divine authority is not loud. It does not beg to be recognized. It is the vibration that says, "I've walked through the valley of nothing and I returned whole." People feel it in your silence, in your gaze, in the way you do not flinch when everything falls apart. Because you've already died once, maybe 1,000 times, and you know there is always something greater on the other side. That kind of knowing cannot be taught. It can only be earned. So when you feel like everything is being taken from you, remember this: you are not being broken. You are being initiated. And every loss is a key, unlocking a part of yourself you didn't know existed. The more you lose, the more of your false self is stripped away, and the more your real frequency begins to radiate, the one that changes rooms, the one that shatters timelines, the one that was hidden beneath the weight of who you thought you had to be. Now ask yourself with total honesty, what am I still trying to hold on to that the universe has already asked me to release? And who would I become if I finally let go, completely, unapologetically, forever? The gift beyond sacrifice, how darkness awakens your highest powers when you no longer fear it. Something extraordinary begins to happen the moment you stop running from the dark. When you no longer flinch at silence, no longer negotiate with your fear, and no longer try to explain your suffering to a world that doesn't understand, it's in that space that your real powers awaken. Because the true power of a dark chosen one doesn't come from how loud they are or how spiritual they look. It comes from the silence they've survived, the shadows they've embraced, the monsters they've stopped trying to kill and instead sat beside, asking them why they were screaming in the first place. You see, everyone wants power, but very few are willing to pay the cost. The cost is not material, it's vibrational. It's your comfort, it's your identity. It's everything you've built on false foundations. When you make the sacrifices the dark path demands, what remains is raw spiritual essence. You no longer have to pretend to be good or spiritual or perfect. You don't need to be soft when your nature is thunder. You don't need to be calm when your frequency is a storm sent to clear the illusions of entire bloodlines. Because once you no longer fear your darkness, you begin to see the truth. It was never your enemy. It was your womb, your forge, your home. Most people never get here. They run from discomfort. They run from their rage, their grief, their sadness, their emptiness. But you, if you've made it this far, you've stopped running. You've turned inward, looked into your own abyss, and didn't blink. And that's where the shift begins. You begin to notice strange things. People respond to your energy before you speak. You start hearing what others cannot say. You feel timelines bend. Your dreams become prophetic. You no longer react, you observe. You no longer ask, you know. This knowing is not ego. It's cellular, it's ancestral. It's the echo of every soul contract you fulfilled when you chose to incarnate with this weight. And the reason your gifts didn't activate before is because they were locked behind your fear of the dark. You had to be emptied first. You had to make the sacrifices. And now that you have, the gates open. What kind of gifts? For each dark chosen one, they manifest differently. Some become psychic weapons, able to sense deception, corruption, danger from across the room. Some become healers, but not the gentle kind, the ones who pull poison out of generational lines, who speak the kind of truth that burns illusions to ash. Others become guides, not by choice but by frequency. Their presence alone begins to trigger awakenings in others, even when they try to stay hidden. But these powers only fully stabilize when you accept the totality of your path. No more wishing you were softer. No more apologizing for being misunderstood. No more pretending your intuition isn't 10 steps ahead. You are not here to fit in. You are here to transmit. You are a portal, a rupture in the pattern, a reminder that the system isn't real. And the moment you stop trying to be safe, your power floods in, not as force, but as clarity, not as superiority, but as presence. You no longer need to ask for your place at the table. You are the table. And not everyone is meant to sit with you. Some will feel your energy and run. Let them. Some will try to tame you. Let them fail. Some will misunderstand you until their own awakening teaches them how to see. Let them sleep. Because your mission is not to be understood, it is to activate, to disrupt, to remind. So when darkness comes again, and it will, don't resist. Welcome it. Ask it. What are you here to show me now? Because it always comes with a message, and when you stop fearing the messenger, you begin to speak its language. That's the final transformation. You are no longer a student of your pain, you become its master. And in that mastery, you become what you were born to be, a true dark chosen one, not because you conquered the light, but because you integrated the dark, because you stopped searching for the divine in the heavens and began embodying it in the shadows. Now ask yourself, if you were no longer afraid of what lives in your darkness, what power would finally be free to emerge? The unseen throne, why the world was never meant to understand you, only to feel you. You don't need to be understood. That's the final release, the last illusion to break before you step fully into your throne. The true dark chosen one doesn't seek comprehension. They don't explain. They don't perform. They radiate. Their very existence shifts the energy in a room, not because of what they say, but because of what they've become. You were never meant to fit inside the world's narrative. You came to dissolve it, to remind the world that there are forces too ancient to be contained in language, too powerful to be domesticated by logic. You are one of those forces, and your throne? It's not visible. It doesn't sit in the world of achievements or applause. It exists in frequency, in how still you can become while chaos swirls around you, in how deeply you can see without judgment, in how sharply you can cut through illusion with a single glance. People don't always know why they feel shaken by you. They just do. That's not by accident. It's by design. Because your purpose was never to entertain. It was to disrupt. You are the consequence of forgotten truth, the echo of ancient power returning to a world that tried to erase it. But here's the final secret. It wasn't the darkness that made you powerful. It was your refusal to collapse under it, your willingness to meet it, dance with it, learn from it. Most people never get there. They stop at pain. They build identities around wounds. They cling to healing as a permanent home instead of a bridge. But you crossed that bridge. You walked through the storm. You faced death in many forms. Ego death, dream death, spiritual death, and you lived, not just survived, lived. And now you carry something that can't be taught, bought, or borrowed. Presence, precision, power. This is what the world truly fears. Not your voice, but your silence. Not your rage, but your clarity. Not your shadow, but your ability to command it. When you are no longer at war with yourself, you become impossible to control. And when you stop craving permission, the world begins to move around you, not because you demanded it, but because your frequency leaves no other option. People may never fully understand what you are. That's okay. They're not supposed to. You are not a trend. You are a timeline, and timelines don't explain themselves. They shift realities. So let them feel you. Let your energy speak before your words arrive. Let your walk into a room be the beginning of an awakening someone didn't know they were ready for. This is what happens when the dark chosen one stops hiding. The world begins to remember, but don't expect celebration. Expect resistance, expect fear, expect projection. Your presence reveals everything unhealed in others. That's part of the contract. And it's also the proof. If you are not triggering illusions, you are not yet fully embodied. When you are, you won't need validation. You'll feel the alignment in your body. You'll walk differently, breathe differently. You'll stop negotiating your worth because you have remembered what most forget, that power doesn't speak, it resonates. So now the final question remains, not for me, but for you. Are you willing to sit on a throne no one can see, knowing that everything you sacrificed brought you back to what you truly are? Because if you are, then it's already done. You don't need to do more. Just become, just be. The world will feel you. The real ones always do.